Hi everyone, I'm Linda Braun and I'm the YALSA CE consultant, and I am here with Kristin and Rachel, who are facilitating one of the pre-conferences at the YALSA Symposium. We wanted to let you know what their plans are so you can get a sense of why you want to sign up. So Rachel, before we talk about the pre-conference, can you introduce yourself to everyone?
Sure. Hi everyone. My name is Rachel Magee and I am assistant professor at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign in the School of Information Sciences. Before I got into academia, I was a teen services librarian in a couple of different kinds of public libraries. And so I like to draw on my experiences as a teen services librarian to inform all of the research and work that I do now. At this, the reason that we got together for this pre-conference is that we have a couple of IMLS funded projects, and my project right now is really focusing on getting young people, teens, involved as co-researchers in developing research projects to better understand how young people use technology in their everyday lives. So what that means is that I'm working with libraries to get teens started coming up with research questions, designing research studies, going out, collecting data, analyzing that data, and then presenting and sharing that data. And really looking at not only how that informs what we learn about youth technology use, but also how that serves as a literacy and learning opportunity for the teens that get involved in the project. So I am using that as a background to kind of inform what we're doing in this session.
Wow, that sounds amazing, Rachel. I just want to talk to you about that, but we won't do that. Kristin, tell everybody who you are.
I'm Kristin Fontichiaro from the University of Michigan School of Information. Like Rachel, before I came to university life, I was a school librarian. So I also try to keep my work really grounded in practice and what works in everyday life. My IMLS funded work has now finished, and it was about data literacy education for high school educators and high school librarians. And we learned so much about how to connect data to the everyday lives of kids. And so that's the piece that I'm really bringing in to match up with Rachel's piece. How do we harness the excitement that teens have for making the world better, a world that to them appears very chaotic, and how do we structure that in such a way that it can really have impact? And so that's why we're so excited to do this pre-conference.
Thank you, Kristin. That also sounds great. I love both of the work you've been doing. So tell us, and I don't know who, we didn't talk about this, who wants to go first, but tell us a little bit about what you're planning for the pre-conference.
I think, Kristin, if you want to talk about kind of the data part, and then I can come in with some of the stuff we'll be doing toward the second half of the pre-conference.
Sure. So a lot of the work that I'm doing now comes out of work I've done with public libraries about looking at the data for their community and getting a sense and sort of a reality check of who's in the community versus who is coming in the door. So we've been doing a lot of work exploring census data, exploring education data, and looking at how that data can help us make better decisions. And I'm a big believer that data doesn't tell us what to do. Data shines a flashlight into corners we haven't thought about. And Rachel and I have found an amazing data set where it really makes a national issue resonate on a very local level. We're really fortunate that it's such a huge data set. And we're going to start by talking about what do we do when we look at data. You see all these reports, and if you're from the school library end of things, all these educational standards about data and data use. What does that really look like, and how do we tackle that data? And then we're going to swing it over to Rachel's part.
Yeah, and so what I'm going to try and bring in is now that we've gotten into some data, we've played around with it. How do we translate that to working with young people? How do we talk to young people about the issues that are important to them? How do we connect them to data that they're going to be able to dig into in that same kind of way? and what methods can we use to support young people really exploring community issues and then thinking about how to make change and implement solutions that they identify through that analysis process.
So am I right that the data set, are you going to tell us what the data set is, or is it going to be a surprise?
Well, I was going to keep it a surprise.
Okay.
I'm totally good with a surprise.
Okay, so, but that sounds great. I'd want to register just so I'd know what the data set is. So people are actually going to get to play with the data or work with the data. It's probably a better way to say it, right? Am I right about that?
Yeah, part of why we chose this mystery data set is because it's an issue that is very much on people's minds. It's a big area of concern.
Yeah.
And yet the data gets very personal very quickly. Yeah. And I think that's one of the big questions when we work with data with kids is, and kids of all ages, is how do we even get them interested in the word data in the first place? So we feel like this data set sort of landed in our laps in a way that's compelling, that's exciting, and that when you meet mystery data, you will know that you are working on something that's important, something that really matters in a majority of American communities.
Yes, and I'll add too that we're going to cover ways to go out and find other information and data that you can use in a similar fashion. And we're going to kind of talk through some of the resources that exist at local, state, and national levels for engaging with this kind of information. And then again, in that second portion, when we're talking about methods for doing research with young people, we'll talk about ways that you can go out and get your own data and how to go from the questions that you have to designing the ways that you collect that data that's going to be relevant to your community.
That's awesome. And so also library staff can use this with teens, but they can also use it when they're thinking about their own, to advocate for their own services, right? And do I have that right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because one thing we know is that our boards, our trustees, our stakeholders, our directors are all saying, show me the data for something. And many of us went into librarianship to avoid this at all costs. But what we have found in our work is that when you know a little bit more, the world opens up to you and the kinds of powerful arguments you can make really just explodes for you. And so we're excited about how data does that for us and how it doesn't replace human decision making, which we also value deeply in our profession. And as professionals, it just adds to our existing expertise.
So what would you say is the one thing or couple of things that you think people will leave with that they'll be able to use quickly or at least bring back with them to start implementing? Rachel, you're shaking your head. What are you thinking?
I have a lot of things. I mean, I think because we have those practical backgrounds, we're really interested in making this something that's actionable right out of the gate. So we're actually building in time in the session to come up with strategies for what you're going to do when you go home. For me, one of those things is how to talk to the teens in your community about what issues they care about. That's the biggest, I think, for me.
That's great. And Kristin?
So coming from the data literacy background, I would just add that for a sense of self-empowerment, that you'll learn some questions you can ask of data and how that, how data can be sort of that diving board that you start there, but you end up somewhere else. And I hope that you'll walk away thinking, data's a lot more fun than I thought it would be. I feel a lot more empowered than I did before. And I see how this will help my community and help my library.
Yeah, I love that idea of helping community and helping libraries through data. That's really exciting. Anything else you'd like people to know as they're getting ready for Symposium and thinking about registering for this pre-conference?
Again, the sort of stance that we have on this is that we're excited about this stuff and we want to help everybody in the audience to find something that they are excited about. within this world of data and research and information. And it's a big, big world, and we know that. And it's fun when you can get into it. And that's what we're trying to do.
It's great. Thank you both. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait to see you at your pre-conference and hope that others will register and be there too.